All right, now to election matters. Nigeria's Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, has fixed the date for off-cycle governorship polls in Lagos and Ondo states. INEC disclosed this on Tuesday in a statement on social media platform X, saying the Edo poll will be held on September 21st of 2024. The statement, signed by the chairman of the INEC Voter Committee, Sam Olumekun, also announced that the governorship election in Ondo is slated for November 16, 2024. Now, the electoral body said party primaries will be held on February 1st and 24th of 2024, while the submission of the list of nominated candidates via the online portal will start from 9 a.m. on March 4th, that's 2024, and close at 6 p.m. on March 24th of the same year. Now, joining me live to discuss this issue are two gentlemen. One is a lawyer and a political analyst, Taiwo Ojumu, and a constitutional lawyer and former Commissioner of Communications and Orientation in Edo State, Andrew Emwanta. Thank you so much for your time, gentlemen.
Thank you for having us.
All right, let me start with you. That's Andrew. INEC has released dates for the off-cycle polls in Edo and Ondo State. How would you rate the electoral body's performance in the last general elections?
Yeah, thank you. I will start by saying that INEC, as far as I know, it is still work in progress. And when you now look at the BVAS technology that has been introduced into the system of election management, you agree with me that what is at stake is not the technology itself, but the handlers of it. And you made reference to the new timetable INEC has released for the Edo and Ondo election. Remember, it was this same INEC that organized elections in Edo in 2020. And that's one of the elections rated as the freest, fairest, and I will use the word transparent. But it's unfortunate that the beneficiary of that election, Governor Obaseki, had the opportunity of organizing local government elections just less than a month ago. And as I speak to you, that election has come and gone. The system have refused to organize the tribunals. There's a particular letter that has gone viral, which the Edo State Electoral Body wrote to a particular aspirant who wanted materials for the purpose of pursuing his election petition, and they told him to pay almost 90 million naira. I mean, it is the people within the system that has made things difficult and not the intentions of the electoral umpire per se. And still talking about the Edo State local government election, which the Edo State Electoral Commission organizes, the worst election in the history of the world. We had a situation where in the particular ward in Itako West, the electoral officer there declared that it was 1 million votes a particular candidate scored. But in the chairmanship election, which is a bigger one, the total vote count was not up to 200,000. So that election was just a total mockery of what we call democracy in Nigeria. So we expect INEC in the forthcoming Edo and Ondo election to ensure that there's a high level of transparency, and that should be an improvement from the fiasco Edo people are trying to recover from in just concluded government election. So we expect INEC to live up to its bidding, starting from the congresses that will be conducted by the various political parties, up to the primaries that will come up in the case of Edo, February next year, and to the general election that will take place on the 21st of September next year.
All right. Interesting submissions there, Andrew. But I want to move to Taiwo right now to understand your own thoughts on this particular issue also. And of course, with a bit of a twist, how prepared do you think INEC is to conduct the elections in these states?
Yes. Thank you very much for having me once again. Yes, for me, I'm of the firm opinion that it is not unusual when there's a new innovation in the electoral process for us to have some glitches here and there. In fairness to INEC, I think INEC did not do abysmally poorly in the last general election. However, I believe there's always room for improvement. I believe that it can always get better. For speaking on the question of whether INEC is prepared, INEC do not have an excuse for me because considering the time, still have a lot of time to prepare. And then the fact that considering the last election where we had some glitches, even though the presidential election petition has said that INEC is not bound by its own guidelines, that since it's not a statutory provision. However, for the purpose of transparency, I believe INEC holds Nigerians rather and the electorate as a whole. Transparency, you need to know if you have said this, you should be able to do exactly what you have said. So yes, I don't think INEC will have any excuse this time around. Moving forward to election, I think elections should hold as planned, and if there are glitches at all, they should be minimal, if you ask me. Yeah, thank you.
All right, I want to come back to you, Andrew, and this time around, still making reference to the general elections. Now, we saw all that transpired from, of course, INEC to a very large extent not following its own template, especially when it comes to transmission of results, coupled with the ongoing tribunals in different states, and of course, the outcome of some of these tribunals. Do you actually see a situation of voter apathy in these states, or we would actually see massive turnouts on the election day in these states?
Yeah, thank you. I think the issue of transmission being a matter of law, and I think our electoral laws needs to be further reviewed to be very specific on the issue of electronic transmission. And I think that conundrum came when the drafters of our Electoral Act, that's the National Assembly, did not specifically give INEC that authority, but they just said INEC would determine the mode of, either transfer or transmission of election results. And at a point, INEC now, in many instances, had to exercise their own discretion. And when the draftsmen are not very specific, it creates room for either a different interpretation, or as it is with the last, as it was with the last election, there were one or two abuses. So if you ask me, I think it now behoves on the President National Assembly to be very specific on the issue of electronic transmission. And what happened in this last election would definitely apply to both the Edo and the Ondo election. And I think the electoral umpire should come out clean. This program was going on when NEPA took light. The issue of power should also be factored, because without power, you cannot be too sure of the performance or the efficiency of technology. And as such, these are human factors which flow from the fact that in Nigeria, we don't have guaranteed power supply. So having said that, I think INEC must encourage the electorate not to be not to be in their present state of, as it were, you find that people don't come out on election day to vote. And the reason is they feel that the election results have been decided. In the just concluded local government election, in areas where people didn't come out to vote, we saw election results. So having a situation like that, do you think people will not be, encouraged to come out when the general election comes up next year? The answer is no. So I think there's a whole lot of voter education that must go into the process. There's a whole lot of, public enlightenment.
That must actually go in.
This time around, there is INEC that is organizing this election, and not the Edo State local government election that took place, less than a month ago, which was a total, a rape of democracy. And I think a whole lot of work needs to be done by INEC in the area of sensitization.
All right, I still want to stay with you, Andrew. I'm still going to get back to Taiwo, but this is to you, Andrew. Now, interestingly, these two states, Edo State and Ondo State, have common, ongoing drama right now between the governors and their vice. It seems like all is not well between both the ruling governor and their vice in both states. Do you see that rub off in any way in the outcome of the coming elections?
Yes, it would naturally have a rub-off for two reasons. First, you find godfatherism ran its evil head. Just recently, even as your channel reported, it was reported that the governor told his deputy that the conditions by which his forgiveness as pleaded by the deputy will be given is for the man to withdraw, for his deputy to withdraw from the gubernatorial post, as in he should not bother to participate in the primaries of, their party, the PDP. And unfortunately, they went for an ESCO meeting in Lagos without inviting the deputy. And it is rumored that it was in the course of the retreat they said they went for, during which they had the ESCO meetings, that the governor's preferred candidate, Aswe Budali, was anointed. So the governor has given his ESCO members marching orders to ensure that they support him in imposing a candidate. And this was the same person who spoke against godfatherism in 2020. Remember that mantra, I do not in Lagos, because the feeling then was that the governor was disqualified because at the time, the leader of the party, of their party that they moved from, as the APC, the president of Nigeria, Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, had a candidate who wanted to impose. And it was because of that that mantra came about. I do not in Lagos. But in a dramatic twist, the governor now holds his ESCO meetings in Lagos. So if he said at that time that I do not in Lagos, why is I do now Lagos? Because you have moved the entire machinery of government, to Lagos. So for us in Edo, we believe that the people of Edo are the ones that will decide who becomes governor of Edo State. I remember that viral video, which of course was played by channels in 2020, when the governor said, I'm against godfatherism. He spoke so glowingly against godfatherism, and that God forbid that I become a godfather tomorrow. And that if I become a godfather,
All
he was very clear on the consequence of that, people should go against him if he becomes a godfather. And then
All right.
people are watching. We want to see
Okay, Andrew, I'm sorry, I just need to cut in because we are pressed with time. Andrew, I'm sorry, I might just need to interrupt you a bit. I want to go to Taiwo right
before I conclude.
Okay. Andrew, can you hear me?
That's the governor's party withdraw from the party.
Okay, Taiwo, just before we conclude this particular conversation, I mean, you are a lawyer, and of course, during the tribunal, we saw a lot of back and forth and some interpretations that really left quite a number of Nigerians, I would like to say, surprised as to the interpretation of the law. What areas would you suggest that the electoral umpire or the electoral process tidy up to ensure a smooth flow, of the election process in these states?
Yes, for me, like I said earlier, in spite of the fact that the presidential election tribunal has made it clear that the INEC, whether INEC follow its guidelines is at its own discretion, I believe that one major area electoral umpire that INEC should work on moving forward is the area of electoral transmission. It is, electoral transmission, electric transmission of results. It's very, very important, even though it's very important in the sense that, like you said earlier, it could, if it is not properly transmitted in real time, it could have what we'll have as voter apathy. For instance, during the last election, I knew a lot of people who had not voted before since the Fourth Republic in 1999 who came out en masse to vote. And so, moving forward, if INEC does not work and do a lot to improve on the real-time transmission of results, it could portend a lot of apathy. In the future. And apart from that, I feel that INEC should be more organized in the sense that they should ensure that their officials are deployed in time and ensure that there's enough security made available for voters. Because if you could recall, especially in places like Lagos, there were instances of illegalism and where people were intimidated. So yes, I think moving forward, the area of security and the area of transmission of results in real time, I should look into those areas.
All right. Thank you so much for your time, gentlemen. Of course, lawyer and political analyst Taiwo Ojumu, and constitutional lawyer and also the former Commissioner for Communications and Orientation in Edo State, Andrew Emwanta. Thank you once again, gentlemen.
Thank you for having us.